Hey guys, welcome back to We Met at Acme. I'm so excited to be here with the one and only Patti Stanger. Hi, Patti.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. So happy to be here with you today. I know that not only are you a dream guest for me, but for my listeners as well.
Oh,
So we'll start out with the question we always start out with, which is what is your favorite romantic gesture for someone to do for you?
um, I just, flowers and
Hmm.
touch. I like a hug. Like I don't like
Oh.
I'm not big grandiose, like you have to take me to fancy dinner. I just want to know like you're there for me. So my love language is touch, but roses go a long way,
Hmm. It's
right?
true. It's true. They do.
That means you
Um,
love that person if you're sending them the roses. So by the way.
Yeah, I agree with that. But I think that also some guys need to be reminded to get the roses, not like
It,
in that way, but kind of just like in the early stages before anything's cemented. Like I love flowers. And then you've said it.
My father would always bring roses home from my mother on Friday nights coming back from the city because he worked in the city. And I guess that went in my grain, like spend a little money, show me you love me. But then he'd hug her and kiss her while she's like making, pasta or whatever. And I always remember like I love that moment because that was in my memory. So you usually what you love is from your childhood. There's
Yeah,
something in childhood that's cementing. Like, everybody wants a Birkin bag and take me on a grandiose vacation, but it's the small gestures during the day that are the ones when, if you, God forbid, ever break up, you're not going to go back to the other stuff.
that's
So,
so true. That's so true. And you're right. We remember things from the relationship that you know, we modeled love from. And that definitely comes into how we act in our relationships now, for sure. If anyone listening is like, catch me up to speed, obviously you've been living under a rock, but Patty used to host the most iconic show on television called The Millionaire Matchmaker. And it was at a time when anything went. There was no, like, you could say whatever you wanted. And that was when TV was
cancel.
amazing.
And we were very New York. I grew up in Jersey and a bit of New York, and we were very in your face.
Hmm.
We're the shock jocks, the early reality TV stars, and like, all of us. I was just listening to Spencer and Heidi. Like, there were things we did back then you could never do today. You just never could.
No.
Yeah, I have to. The Trisha Paytas thing that was on my show, everybody's like, you did this terrible thing. You told her to lose weight. And I said, I don't even remember. But when I was criticizing from the men to the mind of the millionaire, you know,
Hmm.
the millionaire one. And I wasn't saying to Trisha, oh, you look awful. I'm like, if you want what, tell me what you want. And in order to get X, you got to do X, Y, Z
Right.
because they had the money. Um,
Hmm.
and I apologized to her on a recent podcast. So hopefully Laura Cleary's podcast, hopefully she will see that. But the point of the story is like, we had no time. We had to move, move, move. Everything was move, move, move. We had so many scenes in one show, which the third season just dropped on Netflix. People think it's now. They're texting, and I thought they were going to hate me and cancel me. And they're like, we love this because no one will say what they really think everybody else is thinking. That was the whole thing. I was saying what you wouldn't say to someone. And I'm much more softer now, though, I have to be honest with you. And the
But
industry, the
mhm.
industry's changed. I have a real business. I merged with Bonnie Winston, my best friend. We merged our company. We're the largest matchmaking company in the world. And it's mostly the women that join now. It's not the men.
Mm.
Women are the joiners. They're the ones.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I have to defend you because when you're going to a matchmaker, you don't want the same advice that your best friend is going to give you. You don't want that gentle advice. You want someone to shake you and be like, you don't look good. You need a better, resume. If you want someone with a better resume, you need to go to therapy. Like you need someone to give it to you straight. And I think that's what we all appreciated so much as viewers of that show. You were a straight shooter and you said it how it was. I remember when you were talking about the shock factor. Remember that show Next on MTV?
Yes, I love that show on MTV. Yes. I mean, we were the relationship Howard Stern. Howard Stern was very in your face at that time. He told people off left and right. He's not like that now.
Right.
And we were the same thing. But if you have so many scenes in one show in an hour, 52 minutes, you have to move, move, move. And next was like that too. They were like, I'm sorry, next,
Yeah.
And it's funny because I still use that. I'm always like, when somebody comes at me with all their red flags that they're dating this guy and he's got a million, I'm like, next. Or my hashtag is hashtag run.
Yeah.
You
Hmm.
like a guy goes postal on you and you're like, but he didn't mean it. He was having a bad day. That's so female. Where
Mm,
now we're knowing, no, that's a narcissist. You better run.
right.
Mhm.
Exactly. What do you miss most about Millionaire Matchmaker?
I loved my crew.
Hmm.
I was like even my last season, I became really close with my showrunner and I missed my crew. I loved the mixer. I
Hmm.
love eavesdropping on men and women, gay or straight, and seeing how they intermingled. I love that part. And I loved giving them dates in the end. I loved giving them rewards, even giving them tasks. I loved the whole experience. I loved Bravo. Uh,
Hmm.
I loved Andy and my president, Francis. I loved the whole crew. It was like my family. It was like,
Yeah.
and I became friends with a lot of reality stars. Like Jill Zarin's my best friend. Like it was like Jeff Lewis and I are really good friends. Like we still are friends to this day.
I
Yeah.
love that. I love that. And you're a Gemini?
I'm a Gemini.
Are
Yeah.
you
With the,
into astrology?
I'm an astrologer.
Wait,
So
you're a Gemini with a Gemini rising?
I'm a moon and Sag. Yes.
Oh
I'm
my God. Wait, your rising and sun sign and your moon sign are opposites.
yes. Yes.
That
Yes.
is wild. So, do you feel like you can kind of come across the opposite of how you actually are in real life?
Well, I'm a homebody, which
Hmm.
is a Gemini. I'm mentally intelligent. Like I can outfox a lot of people. Um, I'll bite my tongue on that sometimes, but I'm also very cerebral. Like the image you see on the camera is not really who I am. I play a character. I'm at work. I'm alpha at work and I'm totally beta at home. Like I let the man lead. I'm completely opposite. So that's the Gemini. You're two personalities. And then
Yeah.
I got two from the rising sign. So there's probably four of me in there.
Yeah.
Never, but dating hasn't been easy for me. And I think one of the reasons I'm such a good matchmaker is because dating's been sucky. And I see whatever I empathize like you have no idea. I'm empathizing with the women right now more than the
Mm,
men. I think a lot of it's the men. They have a lot. They're going to hate me for this on this episode, but if you don't lead, we cannot follow.
yeah, it's true.
I don't want to be a man in the relationship. And that's why
No.
you see Jennifer Aniston, you see all these people in Hollywood single. They don't want to be the man in the relationship. I don't care how much money they have.
Yeah, that's very true. Does that mean that you at the moment are single?
I'm right now single. I got out of I had a relationship 2 years ago where I was in love and it went sideways for various reasons that I'll keep to myself. But I took 2 years off to work on myself. And I had a lot of trauma in my childhood. My dad was an alcoholic and a narcissist, a raging narcissist. And my mom normalized it because he paid the bills. That was all she cared about, money and that. And I love my mom to death, but they didn't have the therapy we have. My dad, I don't even think if AA was around, I don't think he knew about it, right?
Right, right.
So I attracted men who were kind of shouty loud and narcissistic and
Mm,
played down and controlling. And then for 2 years, I worked on myself and I'm like, I don't have to do that anymore. And I've gone on dates and I've seen it. So I went on a date the other night and I saw it. He snapped for a second over something minute. And I went, there it is again. No, thank you. And I said, I'll wait for the right person. I know who
yeah.
I am. But you have to understand, I worked with John Gray about 2 years ago, and he said, why do you let people yell at you? And I said, I don't know. And he goes, you need to think about that. And I said, my mom let my dad. I said, you normalized it because
Mm,
she normalized it. You don't have to normalize it. It's not normal. Red flags are there for you to protect. I always say rejection is protection to redirection.
hmm.
You're meant to leave that situation.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with that more. Have you heard of the matchmaker curse? Do you think
No.
that that's a thing?
Always because a lot of us are single. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, like there's a old myth or whatever that if you're the one setting all these people up and you're doing such good, but for some reason the matchmaker themselves is like cursed to not find love because they're like a martyr to others.
I didn't hear that. But I can see that we see, well, Maricel Patton's one of my friends from Housewives of
Yeah,
Miami.
love her.
And when her mom and I met, her mom's supersonic psychic. She said, Patty, the reason you're single is you see through men and they don't like it.
Mm.
My mom said the same thing. So I tend to see right through people, like your friend's dating someone and you're like, you see something really bad about them. So you don't say
Right.
it, but then the friend comes to you and tells you a promise. I don't really like him. And this is what I see. And she resists. And then a year later, she's like, you were right. That's kind of like who I am. Is it a curse? It's a curse because when you go on a date, you're looking, is this going to be a person that you could be with? Where most people are just drinking and flying by the seat of their pants. I'm not like that. I'm scanning you and going, no.
Right. You need like an actual angel of a person, which exists.
I mean, I'm really ready now to get married. I was never ready before.
Hmm.
I dated down. I paid the bills for a lot of men. I did a lot of mistakes because I
Hmm.
was sexually attracted. So
Mm.
my sexual chemistry ran the street. I don't have that anymore. Now in menopause, I'm a little less
Right, right, right.
aggressive and I'm more like, no, he's not going to work. And besides, it's a lot of hard work. So if
Hmm.
you're going to take on a project, like just because he's cute, that's not enough for me anymore.
No.
I was immature. I was very immature. And my mom used to say it all the time because I was always attracted to the hot guy. It's real
And
terrible.
and the hot guy doesn't have the rest of himself developed because he never had to.
I know. And there's always problems in their childhood. They got a lot of
Mm.
problems. I had a couple drinkers. I had a lot of narcissists, which you don't,
Mm.
there's a covert narcissist and an overt. So the overt, grandiose and all that, Trump,
Hmm.
example, Trump, right?
Right.
But the overt smiles and you don't know it right away. It could take 6, 7 months, maybe even a year to come out. So I studied that I went to narc school for 2 years, really to
Oh,
learn
wow.
what not to spot. And a lot of these billionaires and millionaires are narcissists. They are.
Mm.
They are.
Well,
They're
if anyone has experience with millionaires, it's you. And it's funny because when I ask people to submit questions, one of the questions, of course, was what are millionaires looking for? Like, but it's so funny because it sounds like a lot of millionaires are narcissists. So it's like, well,
yes.
do you want to be with them anyway? But
Well, this is the thing. It's not an absolute. They're not all like that. There are a lot of good ones out there, probably the ones that are married. But I had a setup a couple months ago with a very famous person in corporate America. And he would call me and text me. And about 3, 4 times I was over it. I was like, look, are we going to meet? Because he didn't live in LA. He lived in NorCal. And I finally just said, this isn't for me. And he was shocked. No woman had ever said no. So we got introduced to a matchmaker. I had to call the matchmaker and I had to say, look, this guy's a waste of my time. First, he's going to send me product from his company. He never got it. Then out of the blue, I get a text message Wednesday night, let's get together. Then he flakes. Like, I don't have time for this nonsense. I don't care. So the first thing the matchmaker says, well, do you know who he is? Do you see how he's in the news? He's so important. I go, who the F cares? How he treats me is all that I care about. And clearly he's single for a reason because he can't get a woman because women are going to put up with his nonsense.
right.
And the thing that a lot of them, and you get female ones too, and you get gay ones too. It's not just men. It's like they want you to change their world for them. And I'd rather have the nice guy who pays the bills, which has decent money in the back when you travel and do nice things together, than go for the big grandiose guy where you're taking a back seat and it's all about him.
Yeah, that sounds pretty miserable. Are you on dating apps?
Yes.
Would you be open to telling us a little bit about what's on, let's say, your Hinge
Oh
profile
my
or your Raya profile?
I was just talking about this just now. Well, first of all, I was on Raya a long time ago, and I said that Ben Affleck was on there, and I got kicked off on a talk show. I didn't know you.
No,
Yeah, which everybody knew he was on there, so I was like, God damn
that's
it! Why?
ridiculous. I feel like I have said so much that I shouldn't have said about that app. I mean, I'm not on it now, but that's messed up.
I was on it, And then I met my ex last time on Tinder, which was a fluke because I rarely am on Tinder. I
Mm,
worked with the match group before. Um, I'm on Bumble. I love the interface of Bumble, and I loved Whitney. I thought she was fantastic. I thought
she's great.
she did a great job. It tended to attract feminine men
I was
because
gonna
they
say lazy men.
yeah, lazy. We call them feminine men because they wanted women to pick them. Then there
Hmm.
was a rumor that they were going to let men pick too, which hasn't happened. However, I think since they were bought by Blackstone, it became like a plenty of fish that was bought by Match, and now anyone's on it. And so it's very in LA. I don't know about, I hear a lot of good things in Florida. In LA, it's very low rent men. And we don't have a good industry out here. So you're either really, really rich, dating, like the girl half your age, or you're broke, waiting for your big break. So we don't have like that middle ground, like a
That's
lot
so
of,
true.
and we don't have a good industry. We don't have a Wall Street. We don't have a hunter mentality. Like even in Florida, when they went down there in COVID, they could work from home, make money, trade, whatever, and so, do anything really, crypto, whatever. And they were still hunters. Where in LA, there's not a lot of hunters. And
Yeah,
it's
that's
very sad for the women here because the women tend to make a lot of money here and they're like, where's my counterpart? And it does,
mm,
they're not out and about. You don't see them at the restaurants. You don't see them at the bars. Like people are like, oh, get off the apps and go, what? Where are we going? Where are we going? So I get all these A-listers calling me going, where are the men? Where are the men? I'm like, get out of LA. Get out of LA. I tell them that. It's true.
yeah, go
It's,
to New York.
it's not the app's fault. It's
Mm-hmm.
the men that go on the apps.
Mm,
And I went on Hinge and I went on Match and I'm on Bumble. I'm on three. Not, but they're all the same people. So we're not, I would like to create the next great app that is AI that goes outside the system, not just inside the system, and finds the person from LinkedIn or from a running group
right.
or finds it from a charity, but it's all over the internet, zooming around and going, this is the guy, and he may
Mm.
be on an app.
Oh, I could see you totally doing that. What
I, go
when
on.
you do use Bumble, what's your first line?
Wait, is there a line on there? I don't
No, like
remember.
you have to do an opener.
Oh,
You
I
have to
just
do
say,
it as
hi,
the
how are
woman.
you? I just go, hi, how are you? I don't have
Hmm.
patience. I don't do a grandiose, this is who I am. No, I'm not selling myself. I'm like, hi, how are you?
Hmm.
And if they come back, they come back. But I haven't seen, like, every now and then you see quality and then you think they're fake profiles because they don't come back. And then you're like, wait, that was perfect for me. Where's that guy? But he
Right.
might 50 million girls. I don't know. And then it's like 1,000 bad ones. My friend met someone in Florida on, I think it was Bumble, and she said she had to go swipe for like a week till she found this guy. So it's a matter of being swipe, 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 swipe. And after a while, you get burnt because you get depressed. And if you go
Mm,
on a bad date, like I went on a bad date from Hinge the other night, and it was a doctor. He had just lost his house in the Palisades. I felt really bad for him, but I wasn't
mm.
attracted. And he did some creepy stuff, and I was just like, and it's not the app's fault. It's they have to get better people on there. That's all it is.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, LA is like, I personally don't know if I could ever date in LA. I agree with you completely. It's for me, I'm not looking for someone who's like in that arts kind
Yeah.
of world because I actually feel like the actors are like the biggest narcissist of all.
Well, look at Brad Pitt's dating half his age.
Hmm.
Just that sin. But look at Tinks. She left LA to go to New York, even though she grew up there, because she knew, like, I'm not going to meet anyone here. I'm too
Yeah,
intelligent. I'm too smart. I have my own money. I come from money. Like, what is there to date here? You know?
that's my girl. Love her. Shout
Yeah.
out.
After you go out of your and you get into your 30s, you get serious. And she turned 30, got serious, and I respect that she did that. I love Florida for older women over 50.
Yeah, I
That
agree with that.
is the gold mine to find a man because they will come from Boston, Chicago, New York, Toronto, and they will go down there with their second homes. And 90% of them, once they hit it there, especially in COVID, they didn't come back to their primary residence. They were like, ooh,
Hmm.
at the beach. I'm going to the beach and working an hour a day. Like you'll find money, they can live nicely there. There's no state tax. Same
Mm.
thing in Austin, Texas, and Nashville.
Okay, good tips. I love that.
Mhm.
Okay, these are a lot of questions that came in for you.
Okay.
What's an ideal matchmaking client for you?
Easy. Someone that lets me do my job,
Hmm.
that listens, someone that gives me feedback after a date, and someone that is really open, really wants true love, and is going to listen to my process and work. I mean, I just don't give you a date. Like I teach you along the way what you're doing right and wrong. I have one,
Hmm.
like right now, I have a woman in Westlake who's like that. And so she's very open, and sometimes I'm like, don't date down, date equal or above. Like I have a couple of girls now that want hot guys, they don't care about the money. Then they complain to me they have to pay for the date. And I'm like, you can't have both.
Right, right.
So
That's so true.
like, or a male client is a gentleman. Offers to pick the girl up, picks up the dinner, doesn't come on to her too strongly, sends a car for her, like all the good stuff. I love a
Hmm.
gentleman, old-fashioned client, like my dad.
Part
Hmm.
of what I loved so much about your show was that you would always give feedback to both parties after the date. And I feel like that is such an impossible thing to get if you're dating without a matchmaker. Like you'll never really know what the other person thought of you. Do you still do that?
Yes. But I went through another matchmaker a couple of years ago and I went on a date and the guy came on really strong. He was like, I really want to go out with you again. He called me the next day. We made plans and then he disappeared. And I called the matchmaker and I'm like, tell me what's going on. They're saying, what difference does it make? Move on to the next one. Now that's not me. I will give you exactly what's going on. So I tuned into my vibrational frequency and I tuned in his vibration. I said, when was the last time you had a girlfriend? And did she come back? Oh, no, 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 says the matchmaker. I'm like, great. A year later, I run into someone that knows him. She's like, oh, yeah, he went back to his ex-girlfriend, but he liked you. See what I mean? Now, if I had gotten that in the moment, I'm like, oh, okay, that people do that all the time. I can let go. Most people do never get the information to let go and will spin. Like I'm not a
Right.
spin, but will spin on just one great date they had. He didn't call her and they're freaking out and they need to know why. If you give them the why, it sets them free.
Right. It's so true. I feel like if you don't get the why, you just have to be like, he didn't like me enough. But it's hard. It's still even hard to just accept that.
You don't know if he's not over someone else.
Right.
Don't know if like he's a narcissist, like the guy I told you in the beginning of the podcast. You don't know what his story is. But if you know, you're like, oh, he's a dick. I can get rid of him out of my mind. He's not a good guy. And
That
then
is true.
you let it
That
go.
is true.
Right. But women spin more than men.
Oh,
Way more.
totally. Yeah. I mean, we want to
Fantasy. They live in fantasy a lot more.
totally.
Mhm.
It's more fun to be Delulu, as the kids say. What have you learned the most about compatibility from all of this?
You need more than sex and chemistry. You need routine. You need like, what's your routine like? Okay. If I'm a homebody and he likes to go out 6 nights a week, we're not gonna gel. If
Right.
I'm like, if the one person's Christian and the other person's Jewish and they won't let the Christmas tree in their house, that's not gonna work. Like you need to look at like even the same foods, the same interests. That's not to say that you can't learn something. Like if I never skied and he loves skiing, I want to learn how to ski, right? So there's that. But the willingness to learn, the willingness to understand sometimes you're different. However, you have the basics. You have the
Hmm.
basics, and the basics most people don't. The minute they see chemistry, they think everything else is going to fall into place, and it's not enough. Chemistry is not.
You're so right. I remember for so long before I met my husband, my whole thing was that I wanted to date someone who had a different background than me because I was like, oh, we'll never run out of things to talk about because we'll be so different. And then I ended up meeting my husband who is also from New York, also Jewish, like same exact age, and it's perfect. But I was avoiding it so long because I thought that I needed the opposite. But it's actually better to have more of those things in common, I would say.
Well, you got a good Jewish husband. There's nothing better, and your mother's very happy.
She is. She
And
is.
you were not dating Jews, and in the beginning, you were like getting that out of your system, which your husband,
Right.
like, please God, no, right? So,
Totally. Totally. What would you say is the best age difference?
no more than 10 up or 10 down. However, if you're at 11 or 12, I'm not going to scream.
Yeah.
But go to 20 or 15, you're in a danger zone.
Hmm.
Especially if you want especially if you pass the point of not having kids and he's too young to not know that he doesn't want kids. Like I'll say, I don't want kids, but then 10 years later he does. Or she says she doesn't want kids. She dates someone 50 years old, 15 years older. He's like, I told you I never wanted kids, or he had kids and you do. It can mess you up.
Yeah.
It's very, very difficult unless you're in Hollywood. Like George Clooney's going to be wheeled around in his wheelchair by her. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
it's too big. Or even Brad Pitt. These age differences are crazy.
Yeah.
You know?
Sure. Agreed. Do you still stand by no sex before monogamy?
Yes, to this day. And
Hmm.
I've broken that rule in my past, so I know it works. Um, okay, so let's talk. Can we talk a little bit about the science? Are you open to that?
Yes. Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Well, that was another question. Someone asked, why do guys not care after sex and like we're obsessed? So tell us
Okay.
about the science.
So first of all, men and women are different how they bond. When we have sex, you okay? Yeah,
Yeah.
okay. When we have sex, okay, oxytocin is released and we think we're in love. That's why you could fall in love with the gas station attendant and you're like, why am I so in love with them? Because it's your biological hormonal response to intercourse. Or even sometimes it could be touch and kissing. But intercourse alone is going to go, and now I'm in love. Okay. And if you have an orgasm, it's even worse. Now, men only bond in the chase. So their testosterone is raising, they have sex, and then it crashes. And they only get oxytocin if they're in love with you. So, how do they fall in love with you if you have sex too quickly? They can't, it's impossible. Over time, the way they fall in love is through vasopressin, which is another hormone. What is vasopressin? Spending time together,
I was
doing
just gonna say, yeah.
out problems. So if they have vasopressin, by the time they have sex, you got them. You're done. One and done. You might just be like, woo, woo, woo. The ring's coming next. And the problem with women is they get drunk. I'm not a fan of getting drunk, 2 drink maximum. And they forget who they are and they're like, woohoo. And they think they're equal to men because men don't bond that way. Men only bond through vasopressin. If they have no vasopressin, they can't bond. So the testosterone goes up, they go down, and then prolactin kicks in and they fall asleep. They fall asleep. Not every guy does this. There's plenty of guys that cuddle afterwards and you can watch a Netflix. But 90% of men, if you weren't there and you left like a hooker, they'd go to sleep. Prolactin kicks in. So this is how it works. Now, is it fair? I didn't create mankind. Okay. No, it's not fair. So women, to protect themselves, and even in menopause, you'll still have oxytocin, maybe not as much. You gotta slow the roll. And you want to know what you're getting. You spend more time buying a car and getting a house than you do with a, penis in your vagina.
Yeah.
It's, it's
You're
very
preaching to the choir.
dangerous. And I also recommend when you're losing your virginity, don't do it so quickly. I did it too quickly and I regretted it. And the guy wasn't nice. I lost my virginity on my 18th birthday with someone I was dating, and he wasn't a nice guy. And if you do that, that memory of virginity losing sets the tone because it sits in your DNA and your cellular level, and you will mimic that moment. And you'll be like, why do I keep meeting assholes? So I recommend teenagers wait, 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 let them fall in love, and then sit down, talk about it. If he's more advanced and he's had it, you want to use protection. If he hasn't, you're going to talk about it because you're going to, blind leading the blind. You're going to figure it out. Read a book, you
Yeah,
know?
I agree with everything that you said. I also have that 2 drink rule. I actually have a no more than 2 hours spent on the first few dates rule, which I feel like
That's
you'll like.
a drink is really good because I'll tell you what a drink does. You can get in and out. Now, coffee is basically an interview. You're going to a job interview, okay? And even though it's like an audition, you don't want to do that. But a drink is you're auditioning them. Forget about if he likes you. Do you like him? Now, if you like him on the drink, 90% of men are going to be like, you want to get something to eat? Or they'll order something at the bar. Okay. You want to see him spend a little
Yeah, but I
money,
don't like that. I don't like
but
that.
you want him to offer it if you like him, if you like him,
Hmm.
only if you like him. If you don't like him, you can get away after the drink, an hour and a half, and you're out of there. But not but you have to understand sometimes a guy who has money won't ask you for drinks. He will ask you for dinner. And most men go, I got to eat. She's got to eat. Let's eat. So if you don't like that, just take them down to say, you know what? I really only have time for a drink, or I've had some bad dates at dinner. I really feel comfortable with that. The other thing is you could FaceTime them. A lot of people are doing that. You got to get some nice ring lights on TikTok. They're all over the place.
Yeah.
Do your hair and makeup nice. Might have a nice setup in have your little TikTok area that you're gonna do for the dates and FaceTime. You may not be as gorgeous as in person because he can't smell you, he can't sense you, taste, touch, feel. He's not hugging you, he's not feeling the warmth of your body, but it'll save time if you've had a lot of bad dates. If you had a string of bad dates, FaceTime. This way you don't wait. A lot of these guys don't look like their photos, and their photos are 100 years old.
Right. Or a lot of them, you can't tell that they have an amazing personality that might come out in FaceTime or the other way around.
Right. And it's almost like a lot of people do the FaceTime dinner or the FaceTime drink where they're both drinking and eating at the same time. So you could do that too. But some people, like I have a friend right now who's beautiful and she's been on a string of shitty dates and she's like, I'm gonna FaceTime from now. And I said, I think you should. And tell him this is why you're FaceTiming.
Yeah, I like that. And then it'll make them want to work harder to get you to the in-person.
Right. And if he doesn't ask you out, you're not his type or you don't like him.
Right.
Start thinking about, I want women to think about one message that I'm going to get across. Do you like him? Why is it always like, does he like me? And I got to chase him and I got to get him. Stop the chase. No more chasing. Men do not fall in love with women who chase. Let it be and see if you like him. And if you don't like him, fine. But if you do like him and he doesn't call you, you're not each other's match. Men.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep. Love that. How to identify it and stop it if you are looking for a unicorn?
What is a unicorn is the question.
A
And
unicorn is someone that doesn't exist in reality.
what are you looking for? Are you doing that as self-protection so that you never find love? Because you at some point, if you're looking for a 10, you got to go to an 8. That's just
Hmm.
life, okay? And sometimes the 8 turns into a 10 after you get to know them and you fall in love with them. So if you're just looking for perfection, like some of these men in Hollywood are, you'll be alone for a long time. The
Hmm.
relationship will go from relationship to relationship to relationship,
Right.
and they never stick to anything. That's why so many of them are single and dating girls at 25 years old. Like, I want to see Leonardo DiCaprio put a ring on it with this
I was
one.
just gonna say, but we always think that they're so close to a ring and it never happens. So why do you
He's
think that is?
50. If he wants a kid, he's 50. So he's
Right.
just 50. And I really like him. I met him. But I like her. She's a Gemini, she's Italian. He likes young.
Love.
So
Hmm.
go for it. I'm not saying like it's a good age group, but she's older wisdom wise because she's European.
The
American,
last one was a Gemini too that he dated.
he likes Geminis. My
He
ex was
does.
Scorpio. I was in trouble there. Uh,
Mm.
but yeah, I just think that dating is hard. It's work. I'm not going to lie to you. It doesn't magically fall in your lap. Some people are really good at it. They'll go one for the next and the next, but then you're like, why is one sticking? And they don't take breaks. They can't be alone. You ever notice these people who can't be alone? You're like, and then you're like, you got another one? Didn't you want to clean up the debris from the last one? No.
Mm.
I prefer you to take beats and be alone and work on yourself, then get back out there because you're better off in getting the right person. Maybe not a unicorn, but definitely somebody highly evolved who's done the work. All women want men who are healed, you know? And it's very rare to find a healed man, but you will find a man who's working on himself. He
Yeah.
realizes there's something wrong. Yeah. And he will go and work on himself.
You know what's interesting though, and I'm curious what you think. Agreed with you. We all want someone who's healed. Do you think that it could be too much, not too much healing, but like over therapized man?
Yes.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes. Yes. Um, I remember that I went on a date when I first got out to California, and the guy goes, "Oh, I can't do Thursday night. I have therapy." And I went, "Okay, that's creepy." Like New Yorkers would never talk about therapy. It was like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
And I said, "That's new." But now every date they talk about my therapist said this and my therapist, and I'm sitting here going, sometimes it turns me off because I don't want to talk about my therapy and I want to know that he's alpha and he knows how to chop wood. And when the aliens come, he can get us out of town. I don't want to know
Right.
he's like, well, I'm going to talk about my mommy issues. So it can
Hmm.
very femme. and very turn-offy. Yes, it can. You have to know when to dodge and dart, I think.
I agree, but you don't need to lead with it. You don't have to put therapy on your profile as a man, like on your dating profile. You can just,
No, because
yeah.
most women lead the men to therapy. Like they'll
Hmm.
and it's not so much therapy. People are doing healers more than therapy now. That's the new thing. So healers are really big out there, fixing your vibrational frequency, adjusting these things, and you'll feel the difference when they work on you if you've got a good one. So a lot of people are going to people like that, like trauma therapists, which are
Mm,
like
interesting.
EMDR. There's a lot
Uh-huh.
of biofeedback. There's a lot of new modalities that are just talk therapy doesn't always work.
I love that. I didn't know about that. I have to
There's
look
a new
into
thing
that.
that I'm doing in a couple of weeks. My friend does it, which is the equine experience. They have it at Mirabelle Spa, but I've done it there. And horses heal you. They bring four horses around you and they come and they touch you and they adjust you. And everybody sobs. Everybody. I've never seen one person not sob because they're releasing so much trauma that we hold in our body.
Wow. Who knew?
Mhm.
I love that. What would you say the biggest mistake that women who are over 30 are making when it comes to dating?
Um, Over makeuping themselves.
Mm,
They're not being them. They watch the TikTokers and they're all glammed up, and the men hate it. They hate it.
that's so true.
Flash lip gloss and mascara and go. You start putting too much makeup on, like your full-fledged Kim Kardashian, and the men tell me I don't like her. She's too made up. I get that all the time with my clients, and I'm like, less is more. And I think they think because they see the TikTokers making so much money that men just love that, but maybe in other cultures,
Hmm.
the Arab community might like that, the Middle Eastern community, because they show up that way, but most men hate it. And they
What
want to know the girl next door is in front of their face.
what about the filler and that kind
Oh,
of
they
stuff?
hate that. They hate that. Like everybody does Botox, like the world does Botox, but you don't want to know that you did it. You know what I mean? So subtle adjustments are great, getting facials and looking good and lasers, whatever. But the minute you over inject, first of all, it doesn't go away. We now know that we were lied to. It doesn't dissolve and it migrates. And plastic surgery, they want that gentle, sweet look. They don't really like the hard look. Some people go too far with it. I
Yeah,
won't say, but you know what I'm thinking.
100%. And it's so funny because I agree with you. If they don't know that it's happening, they're really into it. But my husband, for example, will see someone on the screen, like who was it? Jennifer Lawrence or someone like just got like a little thing, that I could tell.
Yeah.
But my husband doesn't
Lindsay
know that.
Lohan is the talk of the
Lindsay
year.
Lohan, right? And he's like, "Oh my God, like we're watching the Lindsay Lohan Christmas movie." He's like, "She looks so good." And I'm like, "Well,
Shit,
she just got this and this, which
Mm.
I've jokingly asked you if I could get, and you were like, absolutely not." And he's like, "Yeah, but it's different. Like, she needed it." And I'm like,
She's on camera, right? Yeah,
"Right,
that too. I mean, like I had my boobs reduced twice and they grow back. And so I said, I want to do it again. Then my ex was like, no way. I love those. But it's like, God forbid I did something that I wanted. It's his little, toy.
right." Wait, I didn't know they can grow back.
They grow back. Meredith Marks had it too. She had like three of them, I think. But I've like always
Oh,
been like, I want to be a C and not a double D. And I was always the big titted girl at school.
that's
Yeah.
so, I never knew they could grow back. Wow, they really have a mind of their own.
I think it's like fat and it goes to where it's supposed to.
Right, 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 right. Would you say your career really affects your personal relationships? Like it's almost like you said in the beginning, like too much?
Well, I think it does it in two ways. One, being famous and for that show, and then men thinking I'm going to yell at them, which I'm not, but it's funny. And then there are the gold diggers that want
Right.
you, you're successful, you made money, and you're famous, and they want to ride your fame wagon. But also, I was always smart, like when it came to relationships. I might have made a lot of my mistakes, but I was always like, I could see right through the person and see what their core, you know, thing was. Every now and then you get duped by a narcissist or gaslighter. You're like, wow, that man gaslight me. I never saw that coming because
Hmm.
that's their game. They're known for doing that. But 90% of the time, I'll make a mistake and even know that I shouldn't do it. Like that's
Hmm.
I've done
Yeah.
that. I'm not perfect at all, but
Mhm.
I will tell you that what I wrote in Become Your Own Matchmaker in my book, that works. I remember I went to Netflix for a meeting and all the girls were standing around the corner for me to sign the book. And I went into the meeting. I'm like, what's going on? They're like, this one got married through you. This one had a baby. This one, like, they were all thanking me because it was my grandmother's recipe. And only the technology has changed, not the biology.
Right. So
There.
true. No,
Yeah.
you really have helped so much. I was just telling you off camera that my sister read your book and she's like, she quotes it for having helped her get married to her husband, and now they have two kids. Um, and she would read it like everywhere she went. She was holding this book, and it was her Bible. So you really
That is
do help so many.
I'm going to have to ship my assistant off to New York and find a husband there because she can't find one in LA. So there we go. And she's 30. So there you go.
I mean, my husband has some single friends, but the problem is they're all kind of red flaggy.
Yeah, but are they red flaggy because you know them too well? But would they be a gentleman if they met the right girl? Because there's that too. There's two sides of that coin too.
Right. I do. Well, I always say one woman's fuckboy is another woman's husband.
Have you had Anna Christina on your show? She's my favorite. She does Black Cat Academy.
Oh, no, I've heard of her. Someone sent
Oh
me
my
her
God, you
recently.
have to have her on your show. We're actually talking. I'm going to talk to her about doing a reality show with her. So you're either a golden retriever or a black
She's the
cat.
British one, right?
I think she's like Russian.
Australian.
She's in Australia. She's Russian.
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
She said a lot of girls are golden retrievers, like I am, and I'm learning now to be a black cat, which means
Mm,
I'm more selfish. I'm not like going to
hmm
do much anymore. Like I was talking to one of my best friends, and she's like, "I did too much. That's why I'm in the situation where I'm single." So they take it for granted.
Right.
Study that thing. She is amazing.
No,
That's
I did. I watched one of her videos recently and I was like, this is just what I've like kind of been saying this whole time, but she just articulates it so well and perfectly.
it's like she is so well spoken.
Hmm.
And she's quick. She gets it. She'll be like black cat, and she'll show you the celebrities and how this one was a black cat, and this one turned into a golden retriever for this guy, or vice versa. And I loved what she's showing because the examples are so true. It's 100% true. It's basically the giver and the taker. That's what it is.
Hmm.
Mhm.
Hmm. Yeah, I agree with that. Okay, so this one, this one comes up all the time, and I mean, we kind of talked about it, but the question is really how to find men besides the apps. But I think you were just saying, like in LA, there's not
Well,
a
I
lot of
mean,
places.
okay, all over the country. So
Hmm.
I'm a disciple of Pat Allen, old school Pat Allen, Dr. Pat Allen. And she goes, go where the men go. So if you
Hmm.
live in a city where there are no men, it's all married city, you got to move
Right.
if you want to get married. Which is your priority, your work or your marriage? And oh, my family lives here. Well, is your family going to be there in 20 years? No. So you need to move. So cities that are really popping up right now are Nashville, um, San Diego,
I've heard
Denver.
San Diego is a vibe right now.
Denver, we call it Menver and Mandiant.
Yes.
So those two places. Now you could go to Silicon, which is 85% male, but they don't go out of their houses.
Mm,
I went there to try to open my business. I had a really hard time doing it there. They have a lot of money and they don't know how to meet girls. They all look like Sasquatch, hair down to their ankles in shorts that haven't shaven in 100 years. They don't take pride in their appearance, and I don't recommend it.
yeah.
Nashville's great. Austin is a huge hub right now for men. And remember, these states have no state tax. And then, of course, Florida.
Yep.
Go where the men go. That's what I'd
Mm.
say. The second thing is in your local town, where do men go? The gym. We talked about the gym. Sporting events. It's a
I always say sporting events, like the hockey games. There's so many men.
Right. You see how the Super Bowl is a short window. So football is a really great thing because they don't get enough of it. Baseball will go a long time, so will basketball. But football seems to have this, they were always the fans of my show, the NFL. I love them to death. They put me over the top in ratings. And they are a very small community, even though they're large teams, because men go to these football clubs. If I
Hmm.
like the Bills or you like the 49ers, they find bars where people like it. You will find these bars in your town everywhere, USA. You know, like there's going to be a big sports a bar in your town that's going to watch the Chiefs play the Eagles, which is going to be historic since, Travis's brother was on the Eagles.
Right.
And he's a sportscaster now. I'm like, what are you going to say now? This is crazy. And Bradley Cooper, big fan. He's like been going to every game. You're going to see this. And you want to go to New Orleans and spend pretty money? Go to New Orleans. You'll meet guys there.
So
Also,
true.
golf and tennis. And the number one sport right now to get involved is pickleball.
Pickleball, I was going to say, or padel or whatever it's called.
If you want a rich man, skiing. Between now and March, Aspen, Vale. Vale's more family. I'd say Aspen is probably the number one spot. But if you live in California, you got Mammoth. And these are the places where men that are really wealthy go, even if they don't ski. They walk around with their cowboy hats and having, sandwiches at a little local restaurant. And you can talk to men that way. They'll come right up to you. They're friendly, you know?
Hmm.
So skiing, so sports are really man oriented. Like if it was the opposite, I'd be like yoga classes, spiritual classes to find a woman, you know?
Yeah.
They're like 85% women. Now the other thing is you can look at like running clubs are really hot right now.
Yes, I
Walking
was just talking about that.
walking clubs and running clubs.
We
And
do those events in New York. So,
But like if you go to a magazine opening party, it's going to be girls and gays.
right,
Like
right.
you're going to get so annoyed. You got so dressed up to go to this glamorous event and there are no single men. Single men don't go there unless a girl took them there. You know what I
Hmm. And then
mean?
they're probably, they're in some weird relationship with the girl that took them there. So don't do it.
I love concerts. That's my jam. The older school concerts, like the legacy bands like Earth, Wind, and Fire and things like that, you'll find single guys going, or like at Stagecoach, more than Coachella. Stagecoach is very single guy.
Hmm.
Country Western things. Country Western are like I went to a Zach Brown concert years ago, and I was with my boyfriend who's friends with Zach Brown. And I said, this is the best looking crowd I've ever seen at the hot.
Yes, hotties like Zach Brown.
I was like, I'm going to country western if we ever break up.
Yeah.
So I'm going to Fire Aid on Thursday night.
All
They're my
right. I'm putting good juju out there.
good juju. Other things is you should do the signal and smile. So the signal and smile is you're going to hold the gaze for 5 seconds. It's very long. You're going to have to practice on people you don't like to get the confidence up if you don't have that confidence. And you basically hold your gaze. You see a guy, there he is. And you just look over and and you're holding it. Okay. And then you look away. If he comes over, he's your guy. If he doesn't,
Mm.
switch hitting for the wrong team, could be on the other side of the fence. Uh,
Mm.
he could be, you're not his type. He's dating someone or in a relationship, or fourth, which is the worst one. He's the passive aggressive male that wants you to be the man in the relationship. So
Mm.
all four are bad. If it doesn't come over, he's not your guy. Try it with somebody else. Keep trying this.
Hmm.
Men need to know that you're open to receiving them and
Yeah.
try to do it when you're not in a group because those who travel in packs don't attract.
It's intimidating.
Yeah. And the guy, unless he's a real confident guy and goes, hey, girls, love to buy you all a drink. And then you're like, whoa, what a gentleman, because men never do that. So, like I love all these theories that men are going to do this and that. Men don't really do that stuff.
Right. No, I agree. Okay, last question, and then we're going to do some fun rapid fire. This one is for the women who are in the relationship
Okay.
and they're like, when is he proposing and what can I do to make the proposal happen?
So it should be 9 months you negotiate. Should never give a guy more than a year. In the 9 to 12 months, if he doesn't give you the ring, get out of there and be nice about it. Smile pretty. Be the one that got away. So you basically say, hey, listen, we've been dating, 9 months, and you know that I'm marriage minded. What's your plan? And don't say a word. Let that awkward pause stretch. Try to do this at like lunch or brunch when you're out in public. Don't do it at home. And all of a sudden, he'll be like, what do you mean, what plan? And you're like, well, I don't have a lot of time. I'd like to have children. I'd like to have a family. There's nothing wrong with saying you want to get married and have kids. The guy that's afraid of that will run. The guy that's not will be like, well, that's what I want. And if he's a good guy, he's going to say, well, I was planning, by April, by June, whatever. He'll give you a date. If he's not a good guy, and he's stringing you along and he's just jerking around, he's going to be like, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And you're going to have to make a decision. Usually my women go, well, it's been great. I've had a great time with you. You're fantastic, but I'm looking for a marriage-minded man. So Thursday, I'm going to come over to your apartment and get my stuff. I'd appreciate if you weren't there, and leave and give him no contact after that. If he's your guy, he'll come back in 8 weeks. If he's not, he's a dick.
But can't it just be a more casual, like, I am really enjoying seeing, like, I'm really enjoying this and what we have. Like, just want to,
No.
I'm wondering like where your head's at in, no, no, not that. I'm trying to think.
We're trying to make it so that it's okay to be casual and it organically happens. 90% of marriages are not organically orchestrated. This is not the 50s. So used to get married to have sex. Now he gets the sex for free. He doesn't know. He's going to say, I don't have enough money. This is going to be the number one thing. I don't have enough money. I don't have the big house. And I don't have money. And you're going to be like, it's not about money. It's about, do you want to, first of all, if you want a child, you're going to have to be like, I want a child. And I don't want to have a child out of wedlock. Now, if you just want to be married without a child, you're like, I feel safe when I'm in a relationship that we're committed to, legally required to be there by the state of California. If they don't like it, this is good for you to know, because you need a guy who's on the same page as you. You're wasting time. You
I
did more.
agree with you, but okay, this 9 month thing, is it after a certain
I'm
age?
talking about like 25 and up. I'm not
Okay, yeah,
talking.
that's what I thought. That's what I thought. But even then, I think like I remember the first time we kind of my husband and I alluded to it was after a fight we had, and I was like, but it wasn't a fight because he hadn't proposed. It was like still kind of early, and I was like being dramatic, and I was like, well, maybe like maybe we should not be together then because I was thinking that we would be like forever. I said something like that. And he was like, "Oh, I'm thinking that too. What do you mean?" Like, of course I'm thinking that. And just him saying that was enough for me because he's like a serious person that I was like, I don't need to bring it up again because it's gonna happen. And then I didn't really until I was like, okay, what the
Okay, but
hell?
how
Like,
many months was that? How many months was that? What month mark was that at?
I think it was like 8 or 9 months.
Okay, so you were at the right time. So he
Right, right.
going to pros. You're not saying I don't need to have the month, the minute, and everything because you want it to be magical for you. But I want to know he's going to propose and he's committing to it. But a lot of men don't do that. A lot
Yeah.
of men say to the women, I don't know, I'm not where I want to be
No,
financially.
that is the worst
Or
excuse of
I've been
all.
divorced and I don't know if I want to do
Mm-mm.
it again. And the woman needs to know the truth that you want a man who's of his word.
Hmm.
So
The
you need
financial excuse is such bullshit, and people need to realize that that's
That's
not a real
you
thing.
can get a man, you can get a lab grown diamond right now for nothing. So it's like bullshit, and no one's going to even know it's not a real diamond because they actually sparkle better. So my dad was a jeweler. So the one thing that you need to understand is you can't give it more than a year because then you are no longer the black cat. He's the golden. You're going to become the golden retriever. He's going to take advantage of you and say she'll stay as long as she stays because she's in love with me.
Mm,
Have to prove to them I want to be married. This is the problem women do. We were raised to give and give and give and not worry about ourselves. And during that process, we forgot who we were. If you want to be married, you need to find a marriage-minded man.
mm.
So on the first or second date, you screen for that. You say, I screen for that. They'll ask me, what are you looking for? I said, I'm looking to get married. They still ask me out. They still take me on the date and they go, I am too. Even when
See
I was young.
that I wouldn't be as direct as you, but I respect
I was
it.
younger, even when I was younger, when I was your age, even when I was your age, same thing, same freaking thing. I remember going out with my fiance and he asked me on the first date, do you want to get married and have kids? And I was like, what? And he's like, because I'm only looking for a woman who wants to get married and have kids. I can see your aura right now. It's very white, by the way.
What does
Yeah,
that mean?
yeah, you have a really good aura right now. You're gonna have a good week.
Oh my God, thank you. Love you.
I feel like something special is gonna happen to you this week. No,
Oh
I'm
my God. Wait, that's crazy. I have to tell you why when we're not recording, but you're very good.
yeah. So anyway, the point of the story is you don't have to be bitchy. You don't have
Right.
to be mean. You got to be declaring what you want, see
Mm-hmm.
his reaction. And if he thinks like, you're coming on too strong at 9 months, He's not your guy.
Okay.
That guy that loves you isn't going to want to lose you, and he doesn't want any cock near his cooch. You get that?
Yeah, and he's not gonna flinch or what's the word? Is that the word when you bring up marriage? He's not gonna be like, "Oh."
Like that. He's not going to do that. He's going to be like, okay, let's make a plan.
Mm-hmm.
It's like you
Mm-hmm.
make a plan when you want to go on vacation and pick a hotel. Let's make a plan. What's the plan?
Right, right. I mean,
He might say, like, I want to get married, but I don't want a big wedding. Could we do a destination wedding with our family? I don't want some big elaborate thing. He might say something like, or he might say, I'm saving for us to get a house. Okay. How would you feel if I didn't get you the biggest ring at Tiffany? Like he might say stuff like that. It's going to be financial, or it's going to be he has an issue because he's been married before and he's scared of marriage, or his parents, mom got married too many times, shit like that.
right, right, right. I agree with you 100%. I don't think they'll flinch if they're the right person. I will just say, because my followers are going to call me out if I don't, that I wouldn't be as direct about it, but I
Okay,
respect what you're
if it's
saying.
not working now, what do you got to lose if you're direct? So I'll give you an example. So my last boyfriend, um, I wasn't thinking about marriage at all. I was just enjoying the ride. I had a moment where, because I had been engaged and I'd lived with someone. So I was just like, oh, I just want to have a good time. And in the middle of the day, I don't know what, he came into the house with coffee and he just said, we're going to have to live together first before we get married. And I was like, oh, okay. You want to be married to me? I didn't know that. We were like 6 months in when he said that. And I was like, wow. It's pretty impressive because I didn't know he was thinking that. He
Mm.
always told me he loved me and everything, but and I said, well, I'm very old fashioned. I won't live with you unless I have a ring. He's like, you'll get a ring for sure. So there it was. It was negotiation came in, but he offered the thing. I wasn't going towards the 9 month, I want to get married.
Right.
And the thing is, if the guy's on the same page with you, there'll be leaks.
Oh, totally. You'll know. Like he will be like, "Oh my God, our babies will be so cute." Like they always say
I
something.
can't wait till we have that. Let's go driving in the neighborhood. I want
Right.
that. And I want our dog to have the backyard. Like, he's going to start
Uh-huh.
that.
Or
Yeah.
like I remember my husband used to call me his person before we had had any of this discussion. I'm like, you don't say that about someone you're not gonna try to marry, you
Well,
know?
basically, you're shared, but,
Yeah,
soulmate. But yeah.
totally. Okay, we're gonna do some rapid fire questions. These are just fun, like poll questions from our Instagram. Do you, well, this is okay. In a perfect like in your ideal relationship, would you and your partner have to put in the work to understand each other's preferences, like texting cadence, time together versus apart, or do you
No.
think it should be automatically aligned?
Um, so my ex was a bad texter, but he was great on the phone. And I told him I like it better when he calls because sometimes he would trail off
Mm,
and I wouldn't know what was going on. But when he called, everything, the world was all right. So you must tell them what you like and what you don't like.
yeah, you got to do it up
And then
front.
he always calls from that moment on. He rarely texts. He was always call.
Hmm.
Big
Hmm.
call. Mhm.
Is it considered a last minute plan if you set a date a week in advance? He sends you his number to figure something out. You text him the Friday when the date is next Wednesday, and he doesn't get back to you a day or two prior to until a day or two prior.
Confusing what you just said. Why are you texting him? And
Right, right.
why
I,
is he
I
you
agree.
never text him? Let him text you.
I agree.
He doesn't text you by the morning or the night before. Well, let's go with the night before the date.
Hmm.
And by 12 o'clock that day, make other plans. If
Yeah.
it's some, and especially if it's somebody you don't know, like a date from online.
Right, right, right.
But if it's like somebody you're dating, you know that he's gonna, he's been seeing you 4 or 5 times,
Right,
fine.
right, right.
Somebody you don't know, 12 o'clock, make other plans. And when he calls you, say, look, I made other plans. I didn't hear from you.
Right.
I have
Have you,
no week, whatever.
yeah. Have you ever caught feelings for a close guy friend?
Hmm. I've caught in feelings with a work coworker.
Ooh,
Not a close
did you
friend.
act?
No, but we flirted enough. We were in relationships.
Ooh,
Our relationships were our relationships were falling apart.
this sounds
But
like someone on Millionaire Matchmaker.
yeah, but somebody backdoored me and ended up with him. Somebody backdoored me from my show and ended up. Yeah.
Tea.
Another coworker. Because
Whoa.
technically, the crew is not allowed to date the talent. That's the
Right,
rule.
right, right.
It'll ruin the show if something goes wrong.
Right.
They all date each other. The crew dates each other, though. So I always thought that was an unfair rule.
That is unfair.
I know.
Well, actually, Whitney Port, do you know who that is?
Yes, and this person is very good friends with Whitney Park.
That's so funny.
The
So
weird thing you just said that. I was
that's
like,
so funny. She ended
oh,
up dating one of like the
yes,
producers on her show and marrying him.
it was my producer that arranged that.
Oh, that's so funny.
That's a fun,
Wow. That is
yeah.
really funny.
That's where the rule came in where you can't date talent. He
Yeah.
had to wait for the show to be over.
Oh,
His
wow.
boss was the person who arranged it, who was my person.
That's hysterical. Okay.
God forbid anybody on my show watches that. I'm going to be like mortified.
No, no, you're safe. Okay. True or
Yeah.
false?
Mhm.
Couples that don't fart in front of each other aren't happy.
I don't know about that. I don't know. I don't have an answer for that because I think that one person has a real serious scare to show themselves. Everybody farts. That's life.
I agree. I think you need to fart in front of the person
But like, what about
that's
the
for
person
you.
that won't go to the bathroom, um, like won't take a number two in someone's house when they're dating them?
Yeah, you got to get over that.
Hold it, hold it in. You're gonna get
You,
colon cancer from that.
yeah, and you got to be able to like make it a funny thing, you know? Otherwise, you're never going to be happy.
It's like I was just reading about Blake Lively, and somebody really took her down. Said she farted and burped on set, and I'm like, oh my god, are we getting any lower with that freaking? First of all, I'm Team Blake, and he's going down. I'll just tell you that right now on the record.
I love to
No,
hear
there's a
it.
reason why, because nobody in Hollywood on their big break hires a public relations firm to take down their star. And she was an executive producer on that show, and she had movie, and she had every right to change notes, do this, bring wardrobe to her house. Like nobody knows how the world works in Hollywood. All these morons
Mm,
all over the podcast, they don't know what they're talking about.
mm. Is it
And then,
valid to be upset if your partner jerks off in the shower when you're home?
what do you mean? Wait, you're home and he's jerking off in the shower. Is this a constant thing or is this a one-time thing?
In this case, let's say it's a one time.
One time, no, definitely not. If it's a
Hmm.
constant thing and you're not getting sex and he's jerking off, you got a problem.
True.
Most men want to be inside and not with the right hand.
Do you
Just
think do you think you have an edge?
an edge, absolutely. But
Yeah.
actually, I don't have an edge on a date. I'm very quiet, and
Mm,
this is my work personality. I'm like
right.
Patty, Patty, Patty 2.0 is very like, hi, what's going on?
Yeah.
Like
You
I was like,
lean into your feminine.
and I was like very feminine. He grabbed my hand. He did like a Jeff Goldblum with my hand. He was creeping me out there, and he was like rubbing it like from the big chill. And I was just like, what are you doing? I don't know you. Get away, you know.
Yeah, that's amazing. Patty, this is so much fun. I could talk to you all day and night, but I should probably let you go, do your thing.
You
So,
love
can
the webinar?
yes. So first, will you leave us with a quote or piece of advice, and then we want to hear about your webinar and where we can find you.
Okay. The advice I have is that you're the deal. The man is not the deal. You're the
Mm,
deal. Your should be a jewel on the pedestal to be adorned. And anytime someone rejects you or hurts you, there's somebody better out there for you. So just know you're the deal. They're not. It's their loss. They will suffer. And one day you're going to get a phone call from them going, you're the one that got away because they were so stupid in the moment not to realize it.
amen. Love it.
Mhm.
Where can everyone sign up for your webinar and follow you and all the things you're working on?
Okay, so you can go to my Instagram, Patti Stanger, and on it you'll see a webinar, Attract Your Soulmate. Just click it and we'll take your information.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And wait, isn't there a show that you're in with Nick Vial? Is that coming
Well,
out still?
he did a season on CW.
Okay.
And so what's the name of the show?
The match.
That's how stupid I am.
Patti Stanger, the match.
So CW, I did a show called Patti Stanger, the Matchmaker. You can download it on the CW app. Okay, it's free. The app, you have to watch commercials though, but it's free. Or you can watch You can watch Bravo's Millionaire Matchmaker on Netflix.
Yes, love it. Amazing. Thank you so much.